Are you using a new API that you just don't want to have to swap over to your browser to figure out how to implement or use, or you just want some cool coding suggestions? Check out GitHub Copilot on this episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Leslie Richardson, and today I'm excited because we're going to be talking about GitHub Copilot. And joining me today to talk about that is Fabien from the GitHub team. Hey, Fabien.
Hello. Hey, thanks for having me today. I'm a product manager on the Copilot team at GitHub, and I've been working mostly on defining the experience for what Copilot will be for everybody to try out. So very excited to talk about it today with you.
Yeah, me too. So for the uninitiated, what is GitHub Copilot and what kinds of problems does it help people solve?
Yeah, so GitHub Copilot is an AI assistant to help you code and generate code faster. It does not replace the developer, but it will help you access functions that you might not know in libraries, or simply develop your program a little bit faster and in a more easy flow. So with Copilot, you don't have as much to go look for an explanation on Stack Overflow or any other website. GitHub Copilot will just help you and give you a suggestion that will push you in the right direction.
Okay, that's pretty sweet. So if I'm working with an API that I'm unfamiliar with, usually I'd have to go to Stack Overflow or whatever the documentation that they have is in order to try to figure it out. But this can kind of fill in those blanks for me without having to leave the IDE that I'm using.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in the user study we did, we often notice that it's very interrupting your flow very much when you're trying to program with an API that you don't know, a public library that you don't necessarily know, and you have to stop, go look at the documentation, try to figure things out. While with Copilot, you have to do it a lot less, which allows you to be more focused in your work, but also more satisfied from the study we ran through.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to see it in action.
Yeah, sure. So we can have a quick demonstration for today. So just to give you a bit of context on this demo, I'm not a React developer, but with Copilot, I will be able to build a small React application. So I can show you how it looks like. So now on my screen, you can see that I have the standard React TypeScript template. On the side, you see it running on localhost. And we'll go from scratch. Now I'm going to remove everything, and I'll show you how it works. So now there's nothing, there's an error. And you can see at the bottom, I have Copilot running here. And it's enabled for everything, and it detects that it's running on TypeScript. So for today, we are going to build a simple task management app. It's not going to look pretty, but it's going to be more or less functional. So let's go. So we will need to start by using use state from React. But here, you can already see that Copilot is giving me suggestions. It's not the one I want. So I have the toolbar that shows up when I'm hovering around the cursor, and I can explore different suggestions. Here we have only 2. But it's not what we want. We want to use something called use state from React. And as you can see, Copilot just saw that I wanted React, and I just pressed tab, and it accepted the suggestion. And now Copilot knows exactly what statement I need to make to do the import correctly. Import React. There we go. So now we need to define a task because we're creating a small app to manage tasks. So we need a task interface. So let's just tell Copilot that we need a task interface. So let's add task interface. And yeah, actually that's pretty spot on.
That's pretty cool that it's like it can recognize like actual English language or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's underlying it. There is a GPT-3 model that's trained on languages, so it understands different languages. It's better with English, but it works with other languages as well.
Awesome.
So we are going to define an interface, and we have a string, a name string, and we have a Boolean done.
Jeez, you didn't have to type anything for that.
No, nothing. That's great.
Yeah, sweet. Save a lot of time. Don't have to worry about the syntax.
Exactly. It's great because I don't know the syntax in React.
Yeah, like neither do I. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I trust that.
Yeah. So now we need to create an app function. An app function. Oops.
This is great because I personally write to-do based comments for myself all the
Yeah.
time. Like, I need to do this, and so I can just come back and all of a sudden it's just done for me. I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And then with Copilot, as you use it, you notice that you tend to write more and more comments. So which is good actually, because we all know that often comments are a bit forgotten. And here, Copilot is giving us a gigantic suggestions that I'm not going to try to read. It's too much. I want something a bit smaller and more controlled. So let me go here, and I just want the first part. Actually, I want an initial state with an empty array of tasks. Yeah, that's exactly what I need. And the reason it's suggesting this is just because it's standard behavior and that you expect from developing a React, a TypeScript app. You need that kind of state to begin with and to manage whatever you're implementing. So here, it's just using that, and we have our list of tasks. So now we are going to need 3 different functions that are usually associated with list. So we need to be able to create a new task. We need to be able to delete a new task or a task. And because we have a Boolean in it, we need to be able to toggle that Boolean on and off. So let's just say that create a function to add a task. But I want to specify a bit more because we can create a task with either an identifier to put it at a specific spot in the list, or we can do it with a task object itself that is pre-created, or with a string. I want to use strings throughout this example. So with a name that works as well. And now Copilot is creating the function for me. And it took the parameter string, name string int as a parameter. And you notice that it's also defaulting the task as not done to start with. So great, that's what I need.
Sweet.
And now, as I mentioned, it figured that there is a Boolean and I need to work with that Boolean in some ways. And because I specified already before that I need to work with, I want to create a function to do something, Copilot is picking up on those type of patterns. And here it's saying, okay, I need to toggle a task, and I want to use a string task with a name. And once again, it's picking up the correct definition. And here you can see that it's simply looking for the task by the name and switching the state of the Boolean. And that's all we need to do. And so finally,
I was going to ask, like, what's happening behind the scenes where it's able to kind of pick up on some of those common patterns that people are using?
Yeah, so it learned a lot from the public repository it was trained on, and it picked up pattern that people are using commonly. So the more popular a language is, the more there is of training data for that programming language. So it picked up on that, and it's also picking up on the syntax and the semantics of the language you're using quite well. So that's what's happening. And Copilot, on top of that, is taking context around your IDE. Well, not around your IDE, but within your IDE. So if you have other files open in your IDE, it might take some context of it. And it's also taking the context of what is before. So that's why it's understand. It realized that there was a task to toggle because we define a task with a Boolean done. And in English, you would often associate those things together. So it knows that we want to do something with a task and we have a Boolean, so we want to act on that, or maybe we want to toggle that task and we want.
That's pretty cool.
Then, yeah, it is pretty powerful. It doesn't get everything right. Of course, it's not writing code for you, just because we are going through a fairly common example. So let's continue a little bit into the demo. So now we want to create a task to remove the function, as we mentioned. And again, it knows that when we work with list, most people are also working with function like getter and setter and removing elements in a list. So that's why it's picking up on it. And you notice that it's also picked up with a name in here. So it's repeating it so that I use that pattern of commands before.
And that's based off of the language you've kind of been using.
Yeah. So as you use it, you kind of learn to use certain structure that might work a bit better. So you learn to adjust a little bit your language, which is always interesting. So now we are removing the task. So we are filtering out our list of tasks by removing the one we are looking for. And that's all we need to do. So we have our 3 functions. And now we need to return the GSX from the app. All right, so return the div, and we are going to have a division, and we want our to-do list. Now, we don't want to add task right away. Let's think through what we want to display here. So we want our list of tasks to be able to click on it and strike it through. So when you click on the task, it's going to be crossed. And we want to maybe be able to remove the list. And we want that list to be dynamic as you add tasks. So we need to create a list of tasks. Each task can be clicked on. So I'm just describing what interaction I want to toggle it. And the last thing I want when toggled, the task is striked through and the done value is changed. Yes, good. Yeah, that's what I want. And I need to close my comment because sometimes it doesn't do it. All right, and now we are creating our list. So let's see, let's go through. And here, let's look a little bit at what Copilot suggested. So it did pick up that each element of the list will have a name, the name as a key. We have an onClick function, and onClick, we are switching, we are toggling the task with the name, and it's using the function we defined above. Now, for the styling of striking through a value when we click on it, it did pick up on that as well in the text. So the style changed, and if the task is done, we set up as a stricken through. I'm not sure.
Struck through, straight through. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's accept this and go back here. All right. And we just display the task name. It's not going to be the prettiest function, the prettiest app ever, but that will do.
So, and as it is reading off of some of your previous code lines and presumably some of your other project files, can it pick up on just some of the ways that you write your code? Like if you put, your brace for your function, after the function signature and you don't move it to the next line, will it pick up on that? And
it can to some extent, but it's not capturing your entire project, for example. So it will not have the full context of your personal habits of coding. But it will, if you have a long enough file and it gives enough context, it might pick up some of those minor coding habits, yes.
Okay, sweet.
So now, well, it's reading my mind a little bit. I never know where to get sometimes in this demo, because it might give me a comment that's going to be completely off. In that case, it seems pretty spot on, because we do need a form to add a task and add that task to the list. So
it's like a cheat sheet for future demos.
I don't know. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So we create the form, and yeah, it's just calling add task from the form and with a name, the value of the name, and that's it. We don't need anything fancy here. And now we have the actual input of the form and the button to submit it. And that's it. That's our entire form. And I did not write a single line of code so far.
Saving your fingers the stress.
Yeah. It's even suggesting something else. We can remove all the tasks. Let's remove all the tasks.
That's awesome.
And it's just setting the task to nothing. So that's fine. And that's the end of that's our entire app here. And let's just export the app and save, and that should work.
Yeah,
and as you can see on the side, we have a functional. We have an app so far. We don't know if it works. Let's do a test. And I clicked on it following. I can unclick it, done, not done, so on. And we can clear it. And that's kind of the little flow I wanted to show you about how Copilot can be used to write an app, or you can also use it to write some tests. So you could add more condition and make your code way more complex than this, of course. But that's really the core of Copilot right now. And I did not write a single line of code.
Yeah.
Because I don't know this language.
You work so hard at that.
Yes. And I did this demo 20 times.
Yeah, that certainly helps too.
Yes.
That is so cool. So you use Copilot as in terms of TypeScript and React and stuff, but I'm assuming it's also applicable to other languages and project types?
Yes. Yes. So as I mentioned, it's going to be on the most popular languages because that's where we have the most data to be able to fine-tune the model. So Python is very powerful. I'm using it personally for some side project in C++. And some like flavor of C++ using for Unreal development, by example, and it works also quite well. It's been able to pick up on the nuances of the different languages and even some flavor of some languages. But if you're going to look for, let's see, Fortran, there is less data.
They're like COBOL, probably don't.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. I use C# a lot. Can I expect to see it for C# someday?
Yeah, so it is working currently on C#, but we are working on improving the version as well on that. Awesome. It just takes some time, right? So if you get in Copilot right now, you're not getting Copilot just as it is today, right? You're going to see it evolve. We are really at the beginning of something new and very transformative, I think, for the developer experience, which is super exciting to see.
Yeah, and I feel like for lower level languages like C++ and C and stuff, I feel like that could be super useful. Like thinking about garbage collection, especially and that sort of thing, and resource allocation. And
definitely
for you.
Yeah, it's definitely it can definitely be very powerful for that. But again, as I mentioned, it's not really going to write the code for you. Still need to check it properly. The app we just showed, it's not production ready for obvious reasons. But we would.
That's why it's not called autopilot.
Exactly, it's a co-pilot. You are driving the car, and it's just giving you hints and helping you go in certain direction. But ultimately, the developer is still responsible for its code.
Awesome. Cool. Well, so if people want to get started and play around with Copilot, where can they go?
You can simply just Google Copilot, GitHub Copilot, and you will have you'll arrive on our landing page, and you can get a 60 days free trial. And then it's going to cost either, if you pay monthly, it's going to be $10 per month, or you can get 1 year subscription right away, and it's $100 for the entire subscription. And if you want your company to get access to it, we are working on releasing the Copilot, what we call Copilot for Business, which will allow all enterprises to get access to it and manage their users as well.
Exciting stuff.
Yes, very exciting. There's a big change in the industry with those kind of products coming up.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see where it goes from here, because I'd imagine it's just going to get even more complex than it already is.
Yeah, definitely. And you can all sort of applications are possible from here, because right now we're just using in the IDE, but you can imagine that experience in many other places in the developer experience, and not just in the programming part, but it can be in helping reviewing PR or any other part of the developer lifecycle.
Cool. Yep, that's good stuff. Well,
yes.
Fabien, thank you for being here today. Like, this is super exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next for Copilot.
Thank you.
All right. And so until next time, go try out GitHub Copilot and happy coding.
Thank you. Bye.